of whether she's their boys, she's a leader in her family. So this whole thing of you being the last boy, everyone abusing you, like, do this for us, do this for us. When you are married, that firstborn girl would expect you to be like a firstborn man, like really strong, like a leader. But because you are used to being pampered, when you used, it becomes hard. So I was telling him that choose wisely. Ask how your firstborn.
Make sure your brother goes to school, and then your brother will make sure that his younger brother goes to school. And I don't think it's a sense of, it's out of obligation, actually. A lot of people then end up doing it out of obligation because they feel, okay, if someone did it for me, then I should be able to do it for somebody else. And it's as if it's unspoken. They don't even have to ask. They don't even have to ask, because I feel pressured.
In African tradition, the Baobab tree is where stories are shared, truths are spoken, and wisdom is passed on from one generation to the next. Welcome to Under the Baobab Tree.
Hey ladies, it's been a while.
Yes, it is. It's good to see you, Pam.
Good to see you too. I've missed you guys.
I know, we missed you last time.
I missed the cooking episode.
Yes.
And I needed it most. At least we really can cook. I would have learned so much from you, Bells. It would have been so good.
It's not the same when you're not here.
Back here. And I had
Yes.
a message from someone asking me, is everything okay with Pam? They thought someone was unwell.
Oh,
and I said,
shame.
no, she's just gone to spend time with the baby, sorting out university, that's all.
Yes.
Yeah, and has she settled in?
Oh, she's settled in. She's writing exams right now. She says, now I know life is real. So I'm glad she's waking up to reality.
That's lovely.
She thought life was just about coasting and all those, but now she's got her senses.
Fantastic,
So
and how are you?
Good, I'm good.
How was ITF?
It was good.
Yeah.
Met new customers, met new contacts, new networks. No, it was good actually.
Wow.
ITF 26
That's
was
lovely.
brilliant.
That's good.
There was some weather issues, but you can't help that.
But did it rain?
It rained so much. And
Wow.
It was so cold. I mean, it was just unusual weather in Bulawayo. It was.
It looks like there's unusual weather everywhere at the
Yes,
moment.
it is. So today, girls, I just thought, being who we are, in in many, I think, African families, success is never just individual. When one person rises, they often carry many others with them. I think this is what we call black tax, right? But is it a burden, a responsibility?
Well, no, I had such a good laugh when you
it's a
said,
reflection, really, of how
We are.
always been as a community. What do you think?
I had a good laugh when Belle says, oh yes, I can't wait to talk about this because I've been suffering for so long.
Yeah.
And that's how people look at black tax. Sometimes it's never looked at in the positive, but it is positive in a way. There's a lot of negative that comes with black tax, but I think we have to look at the positive first and acknowledge that it is something that has been very important for generations. Everybody has said, if one person rises, like you said, everybody rises with them. But why have you been suffering, Bells?
I don't know. I feel like maybe the first thing before I answer the question, how would you define black tax yourself?
I think for me, black tax would be like financial support to the family, paying school fees and for your extended families, not just your direct but extended family, emotional support, maybe even being the responsible one, like the one to go to person sometimes. And yes, like I said, is it a responsibility, is it a burden? But I think that's what it is. It's just looking out for each other. I think it's an African saying where it says a child is being brought up by the entire community, the entire village. So I think it's the same concept that now then goes on, but it's more financial, I think.
Financial, So, I mean, to be honest, I might be a bit controversial on this one. I feel like black tax, or I could define it like as a financial burden, especially when the family identifies a professional, whether you're the first one to go to work, you know, or you're the first one who's gone to university and you have a degree. There's certain expectations that are put on you, you know. It's not something that you choose. It's predictable. It's reoccurring. It's like once you start work, you're expected to do something, which whether it's your brother who has done it. So I feel like it becomes like intergenerational. And I feel like, especially in the generation that we're raising right now, I would feel like they would definitely not like.
They would object.
They would object.
But I understand why, though. I mean, okay, fine. If nothing was expected of me, maybe because I was the youngest girl anyway in the family. But we have a bigger brother who's done well. And I think it's almost expected that he does things. But for me, I think it has to come from, you have to offer it. I don't think you should be expected, but I think it's expected.
No. With black tax, it's an expectation.
Yes. And my parents never asked for anything. My parents were very, very good in that way. I don't remember them asking for help from any of us. But I think we just did it out of the love, you know. You want to support your parents. They've done so much for you anyway. Not that you are paying back. It's not, because you can never pay the love and the sacrifices that your parents would have done. Yeah, especially the parents, my generation as well. Remember, they you know, my parents they grew up during the colonial era, so completely different. There's so many things they couldn't do, and they gave us the opportunity. So for me, it wasn't that they expected it, but I just liked to chip in here and there when it comes to my mom and dad. Not so much on my siblings, because I think they're all right.
But you're so lucky, Langa. That's not common.
It's not.
Most parents I don't know if it's cultural. I was going to say maybe it's cultural, because in our Shona culture, it's a rite of passage.
It's non-negotiable.
Actually. Non-negotiable. I sent you to school. I walked thousands of kilometers with no shoes. I put
crossed
shoes
over
on your
wrestled
feet.
lions.
So exactly.
Jumped over mountains.
Exactly. So now the least you can do is make sure your brother goes to school, and then your brother will make sure that his younger brother goes to school. And I don't think it's a sense of it's out of obligation. Actually, a lot of people then end up doing it out of obligation, because they feel, okay, if someone did it for me, then I should be able to do it for somebody else. And it's as if it's unspoken. They don't even have to ask. They don't even have to ask, because I feel pressured. It's a kind of pressure. And to say, I need to help. I need to make sure that everybody's okay. I'm okay, so why shouldn't everybody else be okay?
Yes, that's true.
You end up feeling guilty. You feel guilty for saying yes, because you know that you are sacrificing something that you should be giving your own children, your direct children. But then you also feel guilty for saying no if you don't help. So it's like a conundrum. Do you not? And it's our generation, because I'm telling you, the kids we are raising won't feel that kind of obligation.
Not at all.
In fact, they look at you and say, Mom, but what's your problem?
Exactly.
Honestly, these people have their own father, their own mother. Why isn't he paying school fees? Why are you having a sleepless night? Because Sekuru so-and-so's child hasn't gone to school. Why isn't Sekuru so-and-so not having sleepless nights? He's just picking up the phone and saying, I don't have this. I don't have this. And you now start running around looking for this. And I don't know what it is. It's like it's inbuilt in us. It's not such a bad
thing, though.
It's not a bad thing.
No,
if you can help someone, why not, though? It's not such a bad thing. It's just that sometimes, like you're saying,
it becomes an entitlement.
Yes, and for me, I think sometimes it raises a generation of almost lazy people as well, because someone is thinking, someone is going to help me. You know, what are you doing for yourself? Are you trying to be someone, or you're waiting for black tax so that I can survive? You know, so it's almost like the door in other countries, you know, where people just sign on the door and they don't work.
And they don't work.
I think riding on what Pam said about the issue of being guilty, do you say yes or no is always the major question. But what I think a black tax does, it also creates resentment. People, before you even answer a call, you know there's a certain aunt who's asking for money. Not that they care. Maybe. but you know the phone call is ending with, I need this. So sometimes you love people, but because you know that they want something from you, you know, resentment brews. And I think it's really a thin line where there's the issue of entitlement and also being a responsible person as a responsible adult, giving back to the people you love. But if it's expected and if it becomes non-negotiable, I think it becomes unfair.
Yeah, I think so. But I also think, like you're saying, an auntie will phone, you know, they're not
phoning just to say hi.
Yes, it's about a request.
Yeah.
That someone, so, and like if you say no, or if you say not at this moment, you become the enemy. You become
not
like,
at this moment.
You know, they'll be like, but what about me? Why, you know, but look at her kids are this, because they like to compare as well, that her child is going to this good university. I'm only asking for a local one, or I'm just asking for this. So they start comparing. That is entitlement more than anything else, and that is where the danger becomes, I think. Helping your own parents, absolutely. Extended family is great, but they shouldn't expect it, I think.
Well,
it's a good thing, because it creates like a social net, like where you're helping people out. And in the event, not that it happens all the time, something happens to you and things don't pan out all right for you, you know you've got family. And people are going to be able to help you because they'll remember what you've done, you know, in the past.
Do they though?
Huh?
Do they though?
I don't know, but I feel like it's sort of like it keeps us together, because it says umuntu ngabantu, which, you know, in our culture, we are, I am because you
well,
are.
that's part of our social fabric. That's why I think it's a very positive thing, and it's something that we can't really run away from and never will. And I'm sure there are other cultures that do it as well. So it's not just black tax.
Make this new generation not lose it, because I think there's so much dignity in being able to give and to help. More so also on education. Let's say someone who otherwise could have been a doctor or look after themselves, but you don't help them, and they remain a burden in a way. They remain asking rather than you making sure they've gone through school. So for me, I think there's so many benefits of this black tax, but how do we get our Christinas, our Owamis and them to say, can they do the same for each other? How do we get them to?
That's going to be difficult, I swear, because they have their own way of thinking, which is so different from the way we were raised. I mean, we grew up with respect for our elders, unquestioned. Now it's questioned to somebody who doesn't even know who I am. If you don't know me, why should I say hello to you? And that's a conversation I have in my house every day, because I say hello sekuru to somebody I don't even know, but because of his age, it's been ingrained in me that I need to respect him. For my child who's turning 18 this year, no, it's you don't know him, so how is he your sekuru?
You don't. I was about to say, because what we are saying is true. You know why? When you are saying that, in my head, I'm thinking, when you say this is my auntie so and so, or like you're saying sekuru, so just because maybe it's a neighbor or it's someone that you grew up knowing. They want to know, how are we related?
How are we related? Yes.
They ask those questions. I'm like, why are you asking how are we related? I told you we are related.
That's
but
enough.
How?
No, how? Yes. And so what do I say to him? Because I don't know him, never seen him. So so getting our kids to understand this, I suppose we might show by example what we do, live. They might see from us, and then maybe grow up and say, oh no, maybe what mom was doing was not so bad, or she wasn't so stupid after all. Because I've been called all those silly names. You're stupid for doing this when somebody doesn't appreciate it. I said, how do you know they don't appreciate it? They don't say thank you, they don't do this. And I said, no, sometimes you don't help for someone to say thank you. You help because you can, you help because you want to, you help because that is who you are. It's not because it's expected, it's not because of anything, it's not out of obligation, it's who you are. So, but it's a learning curve, I suppose. We just have to wait and hope.
I think it's teaching them, it's teaching the next generation financial boundaries, is it? Without abandoning family. And number two, also teaching them to distinguish between obligation and guilt driven giving. So if you separate the two to say you have to give from your heart, not from a place of guilt. And then I think the other thing, what we can do is to also teach them how to create generational wealth. So if we create a system, I think as Black people, that's where we lack the most, where when we are building wealth, it's one person building wealth, but we must build wealth collectively so that you sort of like cover all the gaps that the family is, struggling with. So if it's the Moyo family, Kwasekuru, Kwambuya, Kwemzukuru, if all of us are building wealth collectively, it means I don't need to look after Sekuru Moyo from the other family. So it's teaching the kids that if we come together as a family, let's build our wealth maybe collectively as a family, rather than depending on one person, Mbinga, who's going to be, burdened with paying fees for everybody, he can't even go on holiday. The minute it goes on holiday, Saka, varukwenda holiday and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like those lessons would be important for our kids.
But you know what? I think it's a cultural thing as well. I remember when I first got married, and I'm thinking I just need to send money back home to my mom and dad. My husband was like, it's you and I. First, everyone else will come, but it's you and I. And I remember saying, yeah, it is you and I, but the bottom line is, it's my mom and dad.
Yeah.
And if I feel like, just like if you feel like helping your mom and dad, it should be a nice thing to do. It's not like we are forced to. So whenever I did that, it couldn't understand it that well, but I think because different cultures completely. And it's not that my parents were relying on me. No, not at all. But I just would want to send them, to treat them, to spoil them, to have something from their daughter. Not because it was expected. Because like I said, my parents, they never asked for anything from me. Whatever I did it out of the goodness of my heart. And my mother never, not a single day did she speak about childbirth pains and anything like that. No. She will talk about those things if someone crosses her path and if someone directed to her children, because she was a feisty woman, but not when it comes to us as her children. It was never expected. But I remember very well my husband thought it was ridiculous that you can think about them so like that. You start with
So that's a cultural issue.
It is a cultural issue. It is a cultural issue.
He learned something. I know up to now he understands and he knows why it's important to look out, because right now he's got an elderly mom, and I'm sure he checks on his mom not because he's forced to. It's just your mom. It's the same, because this black text to me, I think it also leads to when people are older.
The social
you find
aspect,
it so much easier to continue looking after them, and looking after them not financially now, more emotional, more just being there, your presence, being part of the bigger picture, understanding that, you know what, mom needs just support, mom needs this, or grandmother needs this. So we need to, I think personally, it can be a good thing, it can be a bad thing, depending on who's asking and who's giving. Like you said, sometimes you say no, it becomes a problem. You become the not so nicer person, they have the money. Because there's always this thing that someone has the money.
So why can't they just
Why can't they?
That thing that someone has the money and yet you don't have it. So maybe I also.
And it might even be a misconception that the money is there.
That's true.
It's
because
not always
sometimes
that
you
it's
could be a responsible person, and you don't spend frivolously, you know what I mean? And then because you're financially responsible and your things are in order, doesn't mean
that you've got lots of money,
you know? I wanted to pick something from what you just said. And I wanted to ask the question, is black text gendered? In the sense that when we look at the gender dynamics, is it when the girls or the women or the daughters in the family, when they give, it's more quiet? And then when the boys or the men in the family sort of like give out money, it's celebrated. You know what?
But I think that's cultural.
Yeah.
You know,
So it's culture.
Men, and I think my parents expected it on my brothers maybe compared to me.
Yeah.
Maybe.
No, because when you grow up as a woman, you're supposed to be married.
Yes.
And then you go and live with your husband. So the expectation there is that you are now
living
there and you're not part of this family
So now
anymore.
that you're talking about that, let me ask a question. Does it then translate into lobola? Do you feel like then the black tax is extended when the woman is given to the other family? And now when they pay lobola, is that when the family gets their black tax from?
Yes, they're saying you pay us so that you can take our child. This is all the money she was going to give us all throughout her whole existence. No, but I never looked at it like that.
I've never. That's why I'm actually.
I've never looked at it like that.
So in our culture, they'll be like, she's getting married. And then when the in-laws come in, then they get the black tax.
No, but it doesn't stop there though, because I know lots of girls married as they are still looking after their parents and whatever.
But that's not common though. I think
not.
Well, I did. But I did. But what I'm saying is you find that culturally, it's almost like when you are married to that family, your earnings, your whatever else you are now that family. You become wherever Mrs. whatever then it becomes that. But I always also think, what about a family that's got just girl children? Then
what happens to them?
What happens? What happens is for me, it now comes to the issue of the firstborn daughters carry the load. And because they are the ones that are expected to look after everyone, mother everyone, in case their parents pass away, they're the ones who are called Vanamai, and that doesn't end, even if they get married. What happens now, I think, is that there becomes a relationship tension. For example, if a last-born son marries a firstborn from another family, and because she's always the one who is responsible for her family,
and she can't forget
and
that
then she can't forget that, she comes into a family where the last-born son has been pampered and is not expected to take a lot of responsibility. When she continues looking after her siblings and her parents, it affects the husband, because he feels like she is putting more attention, energy, resources towards her own people rather than their relationship.
But for me, I actually say, I was talking to someone who's a last-born boy. I say to him, please don't marry a first-born girl. And he said, why? I said, because you will absolutely be in trouble, because she's a leader in her family. Regardless of whether they are boys, she's a leader in her family. So this whole thing of you being the last boy, everyone abusing you, like, do this for us, do this for us. When you are married, that firstborn girl would expect you to be like a firstborn man, like really strong, like a leader. But because you are used to being pampered, when you used, it becomes hard. So I was telling him that choose wisely. Ask how you're firstborn. And then we laughed about, but he's a young guy, and we spoke about it and we laughed. But I know that because I've seen it happening a lot.
Well, I'm a firstborn child, so I speak
so
from
you're dangerous.
experience.
So you're the ones, the bullies of the family.
I bully everybody. Everybody listens to me. But you also feel responsible.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like my mom now is now one of my children as well. She's strong.
She's dependent on
She's dependent, but she's strong. So it's a big fight. Really, it's like tug of war. Who's going to be the one?
The first girl
She's also the first girl. So it's like that. So we've lived with this black tax forever, but it didn't feel like a burden, and it doesn't feel like a burden. Not at all.
So when you get married, then you're supposed to inherit your husband's black tax issue, and then now
you've got your own black tax.
Now you've got your own black tax at home. But what I feel like it does is you can't save, because the little money that you have is going towards helping everyone else. And as a woman, telling your husband that you can't look after Sekuru in Kumbusha because we need to save for a home is absolutely crazy, in our culture. You know what I mean? And I'm thinking about single parents, whether it's a male or a female, a single dad or a single mom. How do they navigate parenting their own children, but still being expected now to carry the black tax tag. You're looking after, you know, your family members, but also you're still trying to navigate being, you know, looking after your children by yourself, which is a burden in itself. So I don't want to lie. I don't mind the social aspect of black tax. I know today we're really, you know, we're like sort of like really rubbing each other. I don't know, really trying to think hard. But I feel like the financial burdens which comes with black tax, no, I don't like it. I do not. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can't, for me, like I said, I don't remember it being a problem for me, being expected. But also, maybe my family is almost maybe selfish in a way. I don't know, because I did spoil here and there my aunties, you know, just spoiling, but I never looked at it as my responsibility.
Yeah.
I just looked at it, I'm treating my mom's sister, or if it's my uncle here, I'll send him something. Sometimes it was never financial, it was more gifts for me. I would buy my auntie a perfume.
Yeah.
That's a treat. But I don't remember really thinking about it. And I don't know whether as families we have these conversations that things are expected. But I always feel my big brother, people expect things from him. And I've like certain decisions can't be made without him.
Yeah.
But sometimes I also don't know whether those decisions can't be made. Is it because he's the big brother? But he's not the big brother for the entire community, by the way. He's the big brother to me. You know? But we have cousins and uncles, extended family. So even when there are gatherings, they tend to call on him.
Yeah.
They tend to want his opinion. So, and I've never asked him how he feels about that, because sometimes, yes, financially is all right, but I'm just wondering whether is it financial status that makes people want your opinion and your opinion matters?
Yeah.
Or is it just being senior in terms of being the older brother? Or is it the financial?
It's the
I think
financial.
it's both.
Is it both?
Yeah. No, sometimes
my family, the big one is also the financial one.
Okay,
So
okay.
it's difficult
It
on
is,
that one.
yeah.
But I'm
No,
just
but
what is,
asking.
okay, you
our
can go ahead.
family is a little bit more collaborative, if I can put it that
Yeah.
way, in that the black tax is now, initially it was strongly on one person, but like
Okay.
you said,
Yes.
you make sure that everybody
else contributes.
is able to bring themselves up, and they've achieved in their own right certain things. So when things have to be done in our family now, it's a collaborative
That's true.
effort.
Yeah.
It's every household saying, okay, we can contribute that, we can
That's true.
contribute that, we can contribute that, especially if it's family or
Yeah.
it's something to do with the family. So,
Is
but
it
I
for
think
extended family or for the nucleus? Is it for
for extended family
Yeah.
as well. The nuclear family is different totally. That's where black tax is alive. But with the extended family, I'm telling you, it's more collaborative. And my mom had 10 siblings.
Wow.
And out of all those 10 siblings, they're left about 6 of them.
Wow.
But in each of those families,
Yes.
they have their own inter-family black
Yes,
tax.
that's true.
But then there's the family
one.
that comes together and does things
so you
together.
have the
So that's
family
just
WhatsApp
one
group.
example of how black tax works very well.
Yes.
And then inter-family with my direct siblings, that black tax is still there. I know my brother will call and say, oh, Sisi, I've had such a bad week. Can
Yeah.
I have this? Can I have
Yeah.
that? But that's easy.
I think that's easier.
Yeah, that's easy
Because when it's different parts of the family, then there's others who feel like they don't want to contribute.
Yeah.
And then people start fighting, and then you have the family group, especially when you have funerals and stuff like that, where people are expected at least to say, guys, we need this much. Can each family contribute so that at least we can, support and each other, whether it's a wedding or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah,
it
you
is
all
that-
come together. It's
Yeah.
Mingi's wedding from so-and-so's family. We all come meet, have a meeting. What do we do? What do we contribute? So that works out quite well.
Yeah.
So
Even
it's a
we
black-
do that. So
it's a kind of
for
black
us that
tax
has
as well.
worked very well. But do you think it affects class?
Class in
And
what
just
way?
like in terms of the fact that you can't most of the time, because like about your brother, he's expected to look after people in terms of his resources. I know it's okay to share, but do you feel like if he didn't have a lot of responsibility, it would make him, better in terms of his financial status, or that he enjoys actually sharing what he has with everyone else?
No, he enjoys sharing what he has, but he's also, I don't think, because we come from that family where it was never expected.
Yeah.
He does it out of the goodness of his heart. I mean, the youngest in the family, he took him through school and up to university and all that, but I don't think he looks at it as a burden, or he doesn't even speak about it as if it's a problem. To him, it was just like
it's something
my
he
little
had to
brother,
do.
I'm going to do. And I remember laughing that the youngest one, because it was him taking him through school. He's the one who went to universities in South Africa. We went to Wits University.
Yeah.
I went to this one here, University of Zimbabwe,
Yes.
because it was still my father.
Can you hear the resentment in the voice?
So my little brother didn't know that.
Yes.
So yeah, he actually went to the better universities in that sense. But I mean, the University of Zimbabwe at the time was brilliant anyway. But, my parents did what they could, but because it was my brother who was maybe a bit of financial muscle, decided to take his little brother to a university that was even better than the one he himself
But it was also a certain timing issue.
It
because
was a timing
when
issue.
you were going to university, Muto was just rising up himself. He was just starting out, so the expectations for him to send you to South Africa would have been unreasonable.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's true.
But also me, I was naughty. I'll ask for money from my brother, and my brother is the type that wants to know what the money is for.
Yes.
But I'm at university, and you want to know what the money is for. So one
Yes.
day when he asked what the money was for, I said, no, I just want to buy my pets. And that embarrassed him.
And he never asked for it.
Yeah, and then just went to his pocket and gave me. Because I was like, I just wanted money. And this is my brother, I just want money. But he wants to know, what is it for?
Well, that
if you
shuts
tell
him up.
If you tell him the cup is $5, my brother will give you $5. Because he's a financial guy. He wants things done correctly. Even his children is the same. When they ask for something, they have to be sure they can back up what it is that they're asking for. And I like that about it, because it teaches them also to be responsible. You can't just say, because my father can, oh, Dad, I want this. I remember even the little one wanting an iPad at high school. My brother was like, you do get pocket money. I think at some point you buy it for yourself. And the boy saved and bought it for himself. So it's not that he didn't have, but it's a lesson as well. So for me, every time I ask for money, I'll be like, what is it for? So I have to be finding things to say. And I thought, no, I'm not going to say it this time. I'm just going to say, I want to buy pets.
So have you lied about how much you earn so that your family doesn't ask money from you?
But who will be asking me?
No, people ask.
Really?
That's rude though. That's absolutely rude. If someone asks me how much if I'm going to talk about my earnings, I'll be sitting with my brother, asking him for
what
help.
do I do with
how
my
do I
earnings?
Improve my business? How do I do this? That I will, because we'll be doing a proper
These questions
plan.
are asked. That's why I'm asking you. No, I've never been asked, because they'll be like, no, that's quite disrespectful. But I know there's families that are quite intrusive, where there are no boundaries. Where you've stayed in the house, or you stay with your cousins or something like that, and you've just started a job. And people are expecting for you to actually share with them how much you earn, so that they're able to see how much
So that
you
they can spend your
contribute
salary
towards
before
the
you
home.
do.
I just thought of a point.
Well,
When people start work, your first job.
You're supposed to buy blankets and all sorts.
No, you're supposed to give 10% towards your parents, don't you?
Yeah, in our
In the
culture,
Shona,
you have to
it's like you buy a blanket
You buy blankets.
for the mum.
just to thank them and
Just to
stuff
thank them
like
for
that.
everything
That's
they've
black
done,
tax.
That's
To
black
me,
tax,
that's a very nice black tax. So because
Yes,
you
it's
just
just
do
a-
it once
yeah.
off,
and
Yes.
it's a thank
give
you.
them, yes,
But when now you're required to then share with people that you're living with how much you earn, so that they'll be able to see how much you can be able to contribute towards.
So they can spend your money
so
before
that they can say,
it comes.
But to me, that's a sign of laziness. I was saying, just work for yourself. Don't ask from others unless it's a must. Because sometimes genuinely things can turn. And also genuinely, you see a relative of yours who's not going to school because finances are tough. You help out of the goodness of your heart, which is what I think it should be. But when people then ask questions like how much you earn, to me, it's almost like you are part of my salary. You are working with me.
You're part of my household.
I'm the one who's working my whatever off.
Yes,
not you.
that's
So,
true.
So I mean, it comes back to the point that maybe black tax is good, but it should be black tax with boundaries.
Yeah.
What are those boundaries that we need to put in place so that it's still there because it's a good thing, but it doesn't go overboard? What sort of boundaries can we put in?
Definitely, we need to teach the next generation, because we can't deal with whatever we can't change about financial literacy and the issue of shared equity, like we're saying, that everyone is responsible. For us to be able to be a strong family, everyone must contribute. And when we're talking of, contribution, we're really looking at people's strengths. There's some people who are blessed with resources financially, and there's some people who are just like have wisdom and they have time to be able to care for others. Where you have a relative that is not financially able to care for, to give any financial aid, but they are reliable. When there's Gogo who's sick, they are there. They'll be washing them. They care for them. They'll feed them. They'll love them. I think that's the kind of shared equity that I'm talking about, especially in our culture, where we are saying we come together. We cannot be separated. And that is what makes us Africans. And if you're in the pits, people can be able to pull you out. And so for me, I don't have a problem with black tax, as long as it's shared equity, where people are able to...
You contribute according to what your strengths are.
Yes, to what your strengths are.
Okay. Parting shots?
My what?
Parting shots. What can you say about black tax?
Well, black tax is a must. It should stay.
Yes.
I love it. I think it's what makes the social fabric work. I mean, Zimbabweans and almost African countries do not have a social network to fall on. Like what you're talking about, the dole and things like that. We don't have that social network, safety net. So we become that safety net for each other. So I think it's extremely important that it stays. But I believe in the boundaries that you're saying. We need to teach each other that it should not be expected. It's not an obligation, but it's out of love. You give because you can and because you want to, not because it's expected of you.
Okay, so you give without losing yourself.
No, yes.
Because I think that's what happens a lot of the times with something like black tax. Why sometimes it's spoken about and it feels like it's a wrong thing, I think is what we've come to say: expectations, entitlement, and feeling like you are being forced to do it, not because you want to do it. So, but a must it is, right?
Yeah.
I like that. So
it is.
Must.
I'm expecting black tax for my children.
Yes, exactly. Why do you think
I carried you for 9 months?
Why do you think I'm saying it's a must?
Yeah, no.
So I don't want to be put in an old people's home. No.
Okay, so
no.
So that we know.
Yes, exactly.
So what is she supposed to do?
She must look after me.
Woo!
Yes, I'll be a good granny. I'll look after the grandchildren.
Yeah, because I also think old people's homes, as good as they are, I think life can be a bit lonely.
No, it's lonely.
I think
But when you live in your own space, where you're at home, I think it's a nice feeling. I think. I mean, we might be wrong, but I think it is a nice feeling. It should get you a nice annex on the side.
A little granny cottage, yes.
Why not? So Belinda, you are the one that knows our social media handles.
So our social handles are for our Instagram page. Insta is under the Baobab, and then for our TikTok it's under the Baobab Tree, and then for our Facebook page it's under the Baobab Tree. Yeah.
Thank you.
So from what I would say, I'll read this thing that I saw. It says, may we give from love, not from fear. May we support without losing ourselves. And I think that's exactly what we've been trying to get at. So really, ladies, see you next time under the Baobab Tree.
Yes.